It was a stormy Monday morning in New York City. The glass towers of Langford Industries glimmered through the drizzle, their mirrored faces hiding the quiet stories of hundreds of people inside. At the very top on the 59th floor sat Victoria Langford, the youngest self-made billionaire in the state, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech empires in the world. To the world, she was the picture of success, elegant, decisive, and impossibly rich. But behind her sharp smile and designer suits, Victoria's world was quietly falling apart. Her board was turning against her, investors were threatening to pull out, and despite all her intelligence and confidence, her company was bleeding millions every quarter. She hadn't slept in 3 nights. That morning, as she entered her office with tired eyes and trembling fingers, she noticed the janitor, a gray-haired man in his 60s, silently mopping the marble floor near the elevators. His name was James Carter, though most people barely knew it. He was invisible, like the hum of the lights or the whisper of the air vents. Victoria had passed him dozens of times without a word, but that morning, something in her broke, a mixture of exhaustion and frustration, that made her reckless. As she walked by, she stopped and said bitterly, "Hey, James, you've been cleaning floors here for what, 20 years? Tell me, how would you fix a company losing millions every month?" Her tone was sarcastic, a cruel little joke meant to vent her pain. Her assistant gasped softly behind her. The janitor straightened up, his mop dripping water onto the polished floor. He looked at her not with fear, not with irritation, but with quiet understanding. Then he said softly, "First, I'd stop mopping the same dirty floor every day without asking who keeps walking mud all over it." The room went silent. Victoria blinked, unsure if she'd heard him right. "What did you just say?" she asked. James leaned on his mop handle and continued, "You can't fix a company or a life by cleaning up the same mess every day. You have to find out why it keeps getting dirty. Maybe it's the people walking through it. Maybe it's the door left open to the rain." For a long moment, she just stared at him. Something about his words struck a nerve deep inside her. That simple metaphor, it was true. The janitor smiled faintly. "You've got smart people up there trying to fix what's broken. But sometimes you can't see the problem when you are standing too high above it." And with that, he turned and went back to mopping, as if he hadn't just dropped the most profound truth she'd heard all week. That night, those words echoed in her mind as she sat alone in her penthouse. She replayed his simple wisdom again, and again: find out why the floor keeps getting dirty. So the next morning, Victoria did something unthinkable for a billionaire CEO. She ditched her suit, tied up her hair, and walked the factory floor. She spent hours talking to the workers, asking questions the executives never asked. She found problems no one had reported: machines running inefficiently, outdated systems costing thousands every day, workers frustrated but unheard. She realized her company wasn't failing because of bad ideas, it was failing because no one at the top was listening. In the following weeks, Victoria began to change everything. She invited small teams from every department to private meetings. She asked for their opinions, their frustrations, their dreams. Slowly, she began to see the company not as a set of numbers, but as people, each with a story, each with value. And every day, as she left her office late at night, she passed James. One evening, she stopped again. "James," she said gently, "do you ever think about doing something else? You were smarter than most of my executives." He chuckled. "I did something else once," he said. "A long time ago. I ran a small business with my wife. We made furniture, beautiful handmade stuff. But after she passed, I lost my way. I took this job just to keep busy." There was a sadness in his eyes, but also peace. Victoria felt a lump in her throat. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. He smiled. "Don't be. Life has a way of cleaning us too. Sometimes it takes being on your knees, scrubbing, to see things from the right angle." Months passed. Langford Industries began to rise again. Investors returned. The culture shifted. And Victoria made sure James was no longer invisible. She promoted him not as a joke, but as an act of faith. His new title, Head of Workplace Integrity and Development. When the announcement went public, the boardroom laughed. A janitor in management. But within a year, employee satisfaction had doubled. Productivity skyrocketed. James became a legend within the company. He didn't sit behind a desk. He walked the halls, talked to people, listened to their stories. And Victoria, for the first time in years, found herself smiling for real. One day, a young intern asked her, "Is it true you once asked him for advice as a joke?" Victoria laughed softly. "Yes," she said. "And it's the best financial advice I ever got." "What did he say?" Victoria looked out her window, watching the sun dip below the skyline. She smiled. "He said to find out why the floor keeps getting dirty." Years later, when James passed away peacefully in his sleep, the entire company mourned him. Victoria ordered the lights of Langford Tower dimmed for a minute in his honor, a gesture